Hey, what's up, guys? It's your boy. Welcome back to the Ministry of Propaganda. Uh, got a sort of a similar video to what Caden's been posting on here. I just came across this dude in his channel, and I thought I had to make a video about it because this is one of those YouTube movie reviewers, right? And which is fine, right? It's always good to have movie reviewers, but the thing is, this video is about the new SpongeBob movie. And edit and the editing process. I'm going to flash the thumbnail on the screen. This video made me so mad. All right, I was like 5 minutes and I didn't even watch the whole thing yet. I was so mad at this thing. All right, that I just had to make a video about it because we have here this man is almost 30 years old. This is a 30-year-old man complaining. He's essentially complaining that the new SpongeBob movie was made for children. Like, dude, of course it was. And I mean, I'm just gonna let him speak for himself. All right. Just be aware, I have mac and cheese that I'm gonna be eating during the video, so you know. All right, let's get into this video, guys. Make sure to like and subscribe to the Ministry of Propaganda. Yeah, let's get right into it, guys. I mean,
Whew, well, it's time for another SpongeBob movie now that Paramount has released another one.
yeah,
The
they're gonna
second
milk
one
this for.
in this very
They're
same
gonna
year. I swear the release
SpongeBob's never gonna die, bro. They're gonna keep milking.
most things in my life at this point. And it's funny,
That's because you don't have a
I
life.
had relatively high hopes for this movie, since it seems like
And see, this is what I'm talking about. High hopes for the SpongeBob movie. You have nothing better to get your hopes up about. It's the SpongeBob movie. This is made for fetuses. I don't
the
understand.
SpongeBob movies as a whole have been going through a little bit of an arc. We're going to be keeping things spoiler-free for the first half of this video. I'll let you know when things get, spoilery. But generally, the theme seems to be the very first SpongeBob movie was absolute cinema. And
It was, I'll
every
give you that. It
sequel
was.
just got worse and worse over time. The deepest pit of the bunch, with way too many live-action bits and terrible acting as well, was of course the Sandy Cheeks movie last year. But then came the Plankton movie, which seemed to be towing so much of the formula and the line of the first movie that it looped round to being actual cinema again, with all sorts of new explorations of
This is the one.
titular
This is the one that like got pirated, a whole year before it launched. Oh my god.
iconic character it centers on. So with the idea that actually lightning can strike twice for SpongeBob movie successes, and with one of the best ones being one of their more recent ones, there was a lot of hope towards this movie somehow being good too.
It
very much seems to be coming from a version of Paramount and Nickelodeon who have done their research on the first movie and are trying to recapture that magic. Now, I was extra lucky being able to see the movie this time around, as I got to see a screening 2 days early for some reason. I don't know if I accidentally snuck into like a closed...
Did you go to that one? There was a screening where they invited Ice Spice, and she was like, she had her bikini bottom showing. Let's just say that, chat. I mean, it was not good. There were children there.
Event of a cinema screening, but I also got to see this as a nearly 30-year-old man sitting in the corner of a small cinema room while every other chair was filled with parents and kids. Always a weird...
Exactly! Because it's a freaking kids movie! What do you expect? It's a kids movie! That's why you are the only grown man without kids! It's made for kids! The movie is made for kids! I don't understand how this doesn't process in your head. You are the only guy above the age of 25 who is lining up to watch this movie by himself.
Weird vibe on day one, but also it means I get to see how funny this movie actually is when you're not 29 years old. Now, there is...
See, exactly, because the jokes were made for kids. It's a kids movie. It's gonna be poop humor. It's gonna be fart humor, pee humor. It was made for kids. You're gonna see. It was made for kids. That's why you don't like the humor. It was made for kids!
Certainly all sorts of things in this movie that there is to enjoy. We get a whole new narrator at the start of the movie and another live-action pirate. It's always a theme these days that every SpongeBob movie has to have live action somewhere. And much like the first movie started with those pirates and a title theme song, this one has a similar thing of a singular pirate with a singular joke. He's trying to tell the narrative, but he's on a boat that's swaying too hard. It's fun. It's extra nice when you realize it's the actor of Mr. Krabs playing said pirate. And they do even run along and do some of the title theme for SpongeBob as well. The kind of classical fan service thing you would kind of expect more of the SpongeBob movies to do. And then even in this one, they only did one line. And then they didn't do it. I mean, I know they did it already in the first movie, but I don't know, more fan service is fine, I would have thought. Now, when it comes to the actual visuals of this movie, I quickly got used to them. It's again one of those classic things, when you look at the older movies, they get worse and worse over time. I think SpongeBob works more naturally in 2D, so it fits the most in the very first movie. And then later on, they started getting more and more prevalently 3D, but also cheaper and cheaper on the budget. Like, Sandy Cheeks looks awful, right? In this, they kind of do some sort of mid-degree of budgeting. And though Squidward looks particularly greasy, I guess.
It looks fine, dude. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I'm not looking at this movie with a microscope.
Is that a compliment, or is that a compromise? I don't know. Furthermore than that, we of
I'm
course
not squinting my eyes to see how good the graphics look.
Every single other SpongeBob movie is a road trip movie of some sort. This one's exactly the same, but now the central point is all about the Flying Dutchman. And I adore that. I think after we've very much seen how feature-length SpongeBob stories have run out of ideas and go in terrible directions, I think this one is genuinely a great exploration to see. It's one of the niche cast members that hasn't had that much screen time, and it opens up to allowing so much more expansions of the world of SpongeBob we know, and with it breaching new territory, we get to inject new creativity and imaginations, which this movie brings up in droves. There are a couple of retcons in there. The Flying Dutchman is now voiced by somebody else. It's Mark Hamill. Okay. Suddenly that makes sense. Mark Hamill does a great job at what he does. And we also get the introduction of a portal from Bikini Bottom to the underworld. It's kind of like the giant monsters from SpongeBob Movie 1. It's kind of like that bus stop episode in the SpongeBob TV series. It's, you know, whatever. But I do like all of the expansions they make on all these funky creatures and hurdles and rivalries they have to get through. You've got Patrick, SpongeBob, and the Flying Dutchman up ahead at the front of the road trip. And then you got Mr. Krabs, Squidward, and Gary following them afterwards. Bit of an interesting cast selection. Gary's on board the whole time for some reason, and he doesn't contribute much from what I remember. But you know, it's running with
a snail. What he contribute?
The way I saw it, when this movie began, it was really full potential on some of the most terrible movies we've ever seen from SpongeBob and some of the best. Between Sandy Cheeks and Plankton movie is basically where every other SpongeBob movie can go, and I had no idea where to pinpoint this thing. But there were some disappointments early doors. One of the ones is the introduction of the pop culture song number in the middle of this movie, actually at the start of this movie. Very strange. You may have seen it in the trailers. It's that theme.
Oh, yeah, Ice Spice. Yep, there you go. Yes, let's have Ice Spice, borderline porn star in SpongeBob. Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah, definitely.
Whom they play for some reason. An actual original song, I think, from Ice Spice. That song is terrible. It also doesn't fit the scene. That scene originally begins with a completely different pop culture song number, but it's an old school one that fits in universe because the alarm horn actually is singing the song. It's the how do you Bow Wow song? Boom Boom song?
What?
I don't know how to explain it. And I can't play it for you either. That at least felt diegetically baked into the universe. And then they ran to like a pop culture SpongeBob commission song that doesn't fit.
How long does this video run for?
And the lyrics are
25 minutes!
Big guy SpongeBob, big guy pants okay. Pants okay? What is this, man? You didn't even go square pants.
Big guy SpongeBob, I kinda like that.
Because
big guy SpongeBob pants okay.
It's honestly bafflingly bad. I don't even
know. Sounds like they were on weed when they made that. How much they should have been
paid for this. I feel like they should have paid up money to be involved in the SpongeBob movie. not the other way around. It is
What?
dreadfully bad and dreadfully
You think
modern,
people
and they had
should
it right for the
pay
first 10
to
seconds of the scene
contribute
and then cut
their
it off when he
time to the
changes it on the
SpongeBob movie?
radio, and then the
This is
horn
like
just
your
does its
grail,
generic
isn't
I
it?
don't know, man. It's terrible. And that's just the opening sequences. Had to get that one out early, because it's just
This
so
guy loves
obvious in the
SpongeBob way
marketing,
too
and I
much.
don't know anyone who
I
likes
stopped
it.
watching SpongeBob
That
when I
being
was like
said, there is
12.
also a lot of fan service to the SpongeBob series. What do you know? That's nice and replicatable. Self-referential Easter eggs, but they're done more subtly and
I only
nichey.
watch
When
SpongeBob for
SpongeBob and
nostalgia.
Patrick
That's
are
it.
walking to a theme park, they're doing the walk cycle stretches from that one episode. And I'm sure there's
This
loads
guy
of
needs
little
to find
ones like
some
that have been
actual
in there
TV
too
to
that I
watch.
just didn't notice. Even outright copying some of the compositions of the first movie, like stepping on
Oh,
Plankton
sue
and
them.
having his feet magically pop up
Sue them
exactly
for
to the
copyright
side.
infringement,
It's
even though it's their own
identical,
stuff.
in fact. And I think it's the only line Plankton says in this movie. At that point, are they ripping themselves off? I don't know. Anyway,
Oh,
as
yeah,
things go
definitely.
on,
They
we
are.
start to come to the crux of the theme and idea of this general story. You know that SpongeBob's going to end up with the Flying Dutchman, but why? Well,
He's gonna end up with the Flying Dutchman? That's kind of gay, dude. I mean,
here's where things first start falling apart, because narratively, it is so very similar to SpongeBob Movie 1 again.
I
Now, know
thought
I
you
complained that
said you liked that about the Plankton movie. I mean, this guy cannot make up his mind.
sequels went way too off kilter and should return back to the quality of the first movie. But I didn't mean exactly copying its beats. Because while that original film was all about masculinity and SpongeBob wanting to be a man the whole time, exploring the feminine giggly vibes of him as a little boy as the finale to the whole story, in this movie, SpongeBob is obsessed with that idea again. They've just worded it differently. He wants to be a big guy. He is now slightly taller than he used to
Oh,
be.
so not a man, a big guy. Yeah, okay, that is kind of cringe. I'll see where you're coming from. That is kind of stupid.
So I guess he's actually literally a kid. I didn't realize that. And he wants to prove that he is in fact
Yeah, look up the lifespan of a sponge. He's legitimately a child. Biologically, he's a child.
brave and courageous and manly and be a big guy. Learning about Mr. Krabs' new backstory as a buff crab pirate swashbuckler and wanting
I thought he was in the Navy. Mr. Krabs was in the
to get a
Navy.
swashbuckling certificate to prove that he's a man, to prove that he's a big guy. It is very much the same themes and beats of masculinity, and in every regard, done worse than the original.
Okay, here's the thing though. None of the people who are going to go see this movie are old enough to have seen the original. These are like 6 and 7-year-olds. The original came out in like 2004. None of these kids are even remotely old enough to know what the first movie was. That's probably why they did it like that.
This is a knockoff of the first movie,
Yeah, of course
mostly in the wrong direction, where Plankton treaded the lines of that formula
Chatty shitting bricks. That's so funny, dude.
and reinvented it for its new titular protagonist. This is just ripping itself off. There are all sorts of good jokes in the background. There's a part where the soundtrack is going, hurry, 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 like the choir song is singing that when Mr. Krabs is trying to chase SpongeBob before he accepts a deal with the Flying Dutchman. That's the inciting incident for you. But also, I guess this is a good point to bring up the fact I was in a cinema screening full of children watching this SpongeBob movie.
Of course you would. It was the
And
children.
I heard not a peep this whole film. I heard a baby cry, and I heard very excitable children when the film ended and they were allowed to run down the front and sides of the screening for some reason. They did not laugh at any of the jokes. And this was the
Dude, not a single joke. I find that kind of hard to believe. They're children. They'll laugh at anything. They will quite literally laugh at anything. It is so easy to make a child laugh. It's like not even. It's not even funny. See what I did there? It's not even funny. It's so easy to make a child laugh that there's no way that a think tank, you know, a corporate think tank can make a child laugh. It's unfathomable. There had to be at least some moments where the kids were laughing. I think you are really what am I? You are greatly overestimating a child's sense of humor. They're not, and their intelligence. They're not that smart, dude. They will
earliest
laugh at
screening
literally anything you
possible
put on
for
a
this
screen.
movie, at least in my area. That tells me that the jokes aren't funny to kids, and the jokes to me weren't funny either.
Oh, but dude, of course they weren't fun, and so I don't get. You are a 30-year-old man reviewing a movie made for fetuses. This movie was made for 6-year-olds. I don't understand. You're 30 years old. Like, and this is what this guy does. DazzReviews. He just makes the reviews about kids' movies, animated kids' movies. And I mean, dude, there are some good kids' movies that adults can enjoy, but that is not the main point of a kids' movie. They make kids' movies for kids, and sometimes for the parents watching, but mostly for the kids. Like, you're 30 years old, and this is what you're doing with your life. You're reviewing kids' movies. And I don't want to, like, you know, be too cynical here. I mean, if you want to review movies for a living, that's fine. Just, I don't know why. Who cares? This is a kids' movie. I know I don't care. And I used to watch these videos too. Like, I would actually watch these videos, mostly as background noise. But I would watch these videos, and at some point, I'm just like, dude, this is stupid. Why do I care? This is a kids' movie. I haven't watched this in 10 years.
You've seen a collection of the jokes from the trailers, I would assume. No one's really guffawing at Squidward, but now he has hair. Nor the part where SpongeBob and Patrick ramble about string cheese for about 30 seconds. It's weird.
What?
It's a surprisingly unfunny movie, but it does try to cover some of the beats of the comedic side of SpongeBob Movie 1. Rewatching that movie, you realize there's a lot of sound humor where they just go off and make noise. There's a little bit of that in this movie, and it strangely doesn't work anymore. I think some of the best things we saw in the marketing trailers was the intestines smacking each other. That comes straight out of SpongeBob Movie 1. It got a nose sound out of one dad in the room. I don't know if that counts. I think that's probably their biggest height because it's so closely tied to like the crying team from the first movie. Everything else in this movie just wasn't
If I had kids, I would not let my kids
enough.
anywhere near Ice
Anything
Spice.
iconic from this movie is already taken from the original. There's a big old beat about Patrick and Squidward constantly making bubbles, to the point that they even bring up that age-old thing again of calling SpongeBob a bubble-blowing baby boy. Surprisingly, a very soulless movie for a movie all about the lost soul of an ancient human pirate. There are things in there that I can come to appreciate, either as a reference I see or a joke I can understand the formula of, but the storyline is one you've seen before, and honestly, it feels like they're just...
This is the kind of guy, like, being funny isn't formulaic. Being funny is being funny. If you're going to tell a joke, like, I don't know, like, when you try to break down a joke into a formula, it's not funny anymore. A joke is funny because it's funny. Like, you can't really scientifically explain a joke. It's not funny then.
just trying to regurgitate the hits in the hopes they can just
This guy's never made a single person laugh in his life.
And craft
I guarantee.
behind this movie is clearly the missing core, but at least when it comes to the monster designs, they do a good job. I like the world building of this movie more than anything else.
The world building?
That's about it. All the while,
It's
there
the
are some
Spongebob
relatable
movie.
spins
What a
they've
world
added to the story
building.
to try to change what's good for children. I guess it's interesting.
Sorry. Dude, I don't know why I thought that was funny. It caught me off guard.
Multiple spins they've added to this story to try to change what's good for children, I guess, and it's interesting.
Why
There's a
does
very
it look
short
like
sequence
that?
of the caravan driving
That's
through
not healthy, dude.
Bikini Bottom High
Patrick,
School,
you gotta get that
to which
checked
they then
out,
have
man.
to avoid dodgeballs and drive through locker rooms. I guess in an attempt to be relatable to the student children in the audience. It's also so very
What
in an attempt
happened?
to be relatable to avoid dodgeballs and drive through locker rooms. I guess in an attempt to be relatable to the student children in the audience. It's also so very short. They just
No,
drive
Dodgeball was
through,
lit.
and then we move on. Weird, but you know, whatever.
Gaga
Beyond that,
Ball
there's
was
also
lit
a
too. I
big
love
thing
Gaga
about
Ball.
roller coasters and the general fear of getting onto roller coasters for the first time, which I would argue is
Why
not
the subtitles
and
in
the
Korean?
general fear of getting onto roller coasters for the first time, which I would argue is not a bad, relatable topic to approach. In the
That's
same
so
way
relatable.
Monsters Inc. talks about the monsters under
Oh,
the
I'm
bed.
so afraid
This
of
is
roller
the fear
coasters.
of
That's
getting
so
on a roller
relatable.
coaster.
I've
I can
never
see
met
the
a single
points
person who
connecting
was,
it, but the
who was afraid of a roller
execution
coaster.
is just not great. So, everything I've mentioned is likely about the first half of this movie, maybe the first 2/3. honestly, it kind of, you know, it's most of the movie is just that. So let's go into the more specific, detailed stuff. We're going into spoiler territory now, shall we? So, hey there! Thank you for making it to the halfway mark of this video. Come subscribe if you haven't already for more animated movie reviews when they come out.
I'm okay.
We got the Teenage Mutant Ninja
Actually,
Turtles
wait,
short
I
film that came out
unsubscribed to
before
this
movie
guy.
that I'll
I told you I used to
tomorrow.
watch
And
these
if I do
videos.
find some sort of screening of Angel Studios' David Goliath movie, we'll cover that too. Otherwise, that may be the last review of 2025. So stick around if you'd like to see us cover the likes.
Hold on, I want to see. Does this guy make anything other than kids' movies? No, he doesn't. He doesn't. This is his whole thing. He just makes these videos.
Alright, back to the second half of SpongeBob Movie 4. So, we have SpongeBob and Patrick following the Flying Dutchman all to the ends of his adventure. They go through the whole underworld. There's a game show at the end with a mountaintop, and that's quite nice. That's a nice adaptation for the trials they're going through, and they do some nice montagey things. Maybe it's a bit old man of me to say it goes by a bit too quickly, but I feel like everyone in the audience.
Yeah, that just looks
maybe
weird.
It's a bit old man of me to say
that looks weird. That looks something like. This looks like one of those old YouTube kids videos.
It goes by a bit too quickly, but I feel like everyone in the audience didn't really get time to perceive it. There's a nice joke in the middle of them blasting through these challenges where they break the fourth wall to have a CEO fish guy from Paramount complain that Sandy Cheeks isn't in the movie, and then she appears in front of them and then explodes into a monster and they move on. And I like maybe the concept of that. I feel like they did it wrong somewhere along the way. Is that actually commentary that they didn't get a certain character in board and they needed to cover that? Again,
is that a meta commentary?
I think. But also, I really liked the bravery in trying to do a joke like that. And there is another one coming up later
I admired
this
company's bravery and their writers.
So, this final challenge
you know what? They should hire me as a writer. I'd be pretty good at me, DazzReveiws.
For SpongeBob to get the certificate.
I know how to make kids laugh. It's very formulaic.
Is a trap for the Flying Dutchman to release his curse. You know this from the trailers, that's fine. But also, the way that SpongeBob successfully gets through all these trials is via one singular misunderstanding that he runs through the entire movie. Remember that bit in the first movie where the mermaid gives him a seaweed mustache and now he believes he's a man, so he just trounces through the underworld again and dances his way through? The fact that that's a musical number and really fun means it's nice, and it's short. This is a whole third of the movie now. And instead of just thinking he's a man because he's got a seaweed mustache, he instead tries to follow the advice of doing what Mr. Krabs would do in any scenario. The misunderstanding comes from the fact that he's talking about himself when he was buff as a pirate captain swashbuckler. They're retconning his backstory, it's fine, don't worry about it. This SpongeBob, however, decides to take that as the what would the Mr. Krabs of now do, so he morphs into the modern day version of Mr. Krabs and then just sort of moxies his way through. He turns a giant mop monster into a mop and does it. He wins with the power of imagination. It's fine. It gets boring. And it goes for like 15 minutes, which is an eternity in SpongeBob minutes. But then when we get to the very, very end of it, turns out Squidward, Mr. Krabs, and Gary minutes.
Oh, dude, I was about to say Smash for a second.
Turns out Squidward, Mr. Krabs, and Gary the Snail don't manage to catch up really in time, and the Flying Dutchman successfully manages to release his curse, which is nice. I was really hoping to see that, to be honest.
Not gay, by the way.
Then delves into is the mandatory live-action segment of any SpongeBob movie, and now Mark Hamill is here in the flesh in live
action. I'm into Latinas, you know what I mean?
I love that. They gave him a prosthetic nose. He genuinely looks like a different character. You can see if you pay attention.
By the way, if you are like a thick Latina and you want to put your number in the comment section,
I want to go back to the beginning.
Go down below.
The opening of this movie, you have Mr. Krabs as a live-action pirate explaining the story of the Flying Dutchman, and that's kind of my initial first problem.
If you're hot at all, you know what I mean? Just put your number down.
Only say
you don't have to be a Latina.
Very little showing. You know that one shot you see in the trailer of maybe a pirate entering a cave and it's probably the Flying Dutchman's backstory? Yeah, that's all you see in the movie as well. It's like, here's a shot of the sea, here's that one brief shot of the live action.